Okay, so now we're going to talk about the microbiome. And so when people think about the microbiome, of course, they're thinking about what microbes are colonizing the body. And so some terminology has to be introduced because it often gets misused. So our microbiota basically equals our normal flora. Our microbiome is a component of the normal flora and specifically the microbial genomes in the microbiota. So looking specifically at what genes are present. So we have a core microbiome, which is commonly shared, about 95% shared genomes of the bacteria that colonize us. Secondary are the diversities that's unique to individuals. And this can have a lot to do with location, geography, diet, things like that. Now, functional redundancy is that there are functions provided by diverse members of the microbiome that are redundant. So many bacteria can metabolize nutrients. Many bacteria can metabolize your fiber. And also, this has to do with regulating of immune responses with respect to the redundancy of these microbes. Now, prebiotic are food ingredients that support the growth of certain members of the microbiota. And then probiotic are live organisms. And this is that when they're ingested, they are believed to provide benefit to the host. Okay, so the human microbiome is going to be different in different anatomical locations. So there's going to be some substantial variation among species and gene compositions between individuals and at different sites. And these are different body sites. And of course, the greatest diversity within our body is going to be in the intestine. And then it's going to be compared to the genitourinary tract, where a decrease of diversity equals healthy, and an increase in diversity can lead to disease. And so this picture just shows you all the different types of bacterium that are normally colonizing these areas of the body. Now, with respect to the effects of antibiotics, and this goes towards the overuse of antibiotics. So keep in mind, most human infections are going to be viral. So when a person presents to the clinic with an infection, oftentimes they're asked how long because our bodies can handle virus infections If it goes on for more than 5 days, then you typically have to start thinking it might be a bacteria and add the antibiotics. But antibiotics have no effect on viruses. Some of the problems with overusing antibiotics is that you're going to disrupt the microflora. You're going to disrupt the biome. And this can allow for the invasion of potentially pathogenic strains of bacteria. And so what this is just showing you is the use of antibiotics. And so we have here before antibiotic use, and then we have different days during. So we have 3, 6, 10, 13 days after, and then you have complete after. So if you just look at the before and the after, comparing these two, you can see that the after has these green types of bacteria now, and you have even changes in the amount of your orange bacteria shown here from when you're comparing these two. And it's the same thing if you're going to compare the before and after in this group of individuals here. So here's the before and here's the after. So after, you get a large expansion of these green bacterium that weren't present before you gave the antibiotic. And then the before and after here, it's the same story. You have a large expansion of these orange bacterium that weren't necessarily present and these green bacterium, etc. So it is well characterized and well known that antibiotics do change the microbiome. Now, just a little bit about dysbiosis and disease. So disruption of the normal microbiome, and that can lead to disease. So disruption. Antibiotics, for example, can allow C. difficile to grow. And C. difficile will release enterotoxins. So it has LPS. And then this is going to lead to antibiotic-resistant colitis. Now, what this means is that you're given an antibiotic, but you're still getting colitis, and that's because C. diff is going to be resistant to that antibiotic. Now, once you remove the antibiotic, your normal flora bacteria are going to move in, and C. diff cannot compete with normal flora bacteria to survive. And so the effect of the colitis will go away because C. diff will not be able to grow with the normal flora bacterium. Ulcerative colitis is an increase in bacteria that produce mucin-degrading sulfases, and they're going to degrade the mucosal lining. Obesity can increase bacteria. Increase carb-using bacteria. And then celiac disease is going to generate a predisposition for disease. But most bacteria in our gut can metabolize glutens. So that's why there's thought to be variability within celiac disease for presenting with disease. Okay, just a little bit about the diversity of the microbiome. So in the mouth, it is known that there are 12 bacteria phyli, and they're listed here. Urcanella, corrodens, and Staphylococcus are going to be common infections when somebody is bitten by another human. So these two are going to be found inside the mouth, and they're going to be, when they're introduced into the blood after a bite, a human bite, they're going to cause issues. There's also protozoa, so Entamoeba gingivalis and Trichomonas tenax are going to be found in your mouth. Candida is going to be found in the mouth, and usually you have no overgrowth of that unless you have an immune compromised individual. So oral thrush is by Candida, and that will indicate that there's some sort of immune compromise going on. It can also indicate that there is something wrong with your neutrophils, neutropenia. Aspergillus is the one that's found in all the shower heads and causes problems in immune compromised again. There's also Fusarium and Cryptococcus are potential fungi just in our normal flora. Microbes in the female vaginal tissue, we have the dominating bacteria, Lactobacilli, Provotella, Gardnerella. They're going to protect against potential pathogens such as Candida, which can cause a yeast infection.